Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FC Podcast. If you want to catch these episodes hours and hours and hours ahead of when they're uploaded on YouTube, then go check them out where they're originally recorded on Anchor. We post 4 episodes a week, and on YouTube we'll only upload 3 episodes. You can catch the 4th episode, the Friday episode, as a bonus on Anchor. Links will be in the channel below, and don't forget to subscribe to Millennial Me, who's the host of the podcast, and enjoy the show.
You are listening to the Fandom Collective, your source of information on pop culture, entertainment, and Hollywood, with your host, Fallon of Millennial Me, and my co-host, the Rookie Critic. This time we are talking about Lucasfilm is interested in developing more non-canon Star Wars projects. But is this a good thing or a bad thing? All right, so I honestly didn't know about this till tonight. Rookie was telling me about it. And I didn't know Lucasfilm was going to dabble in fan fiction.
It seems like part of what they're trying to do is they would like to... they're referring to games. The one that I talked about with Tim Possible the other night was basically they're trying to do some non-canon stories in some of their video games. So, like, they're referencing The Force Unleashed, how, like, that, wasn't canon, but, some people could consider it canon, and they were like, oh, it'd be easier to create all these stories without having it have to adhere to canon. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Kind of, makes storytelling a little more pointless, though, if you're not going to hold it to something. But, that's fine. I'd say it's fine to have things not canon-based, and especially in a thing where a lot of people aren't going to see the story,
Yeah, it would be interesting. There are a lot of video games back from the 80s and 90s that were Star Wars, but they were never, I don't know if they were actually considered quote-unquote canon. So,
well, the word canon, what would people consider the word canon to even mean? Because that can vary time to time.
Yeah. What I consider canon, it fits within the universe pre-established by George Lucas. That's canon to me. So honestly, I think a lot of people would also accept that definition, but the new Star Wars fans would not.
Yeah. Well, it's like, by that, do you mean like the stuff that exists, or what George Lucas says is canon?
What George Lucas said is canon. He's the creator. He gets the pick.
Yeah, you see, that's where I disagree, because sometimes creators can say a lot of nonsense.
True.
Like, what if he was like, Padme was inspired by my daughter? I don't know. Like, a lot of scenes that happen there. Be like,
but that's not really that doesn't relate.
I'm sorry. I'll use a better example. Like when J.K. Rowling says that Dumbledore's gay, it's like, well, he could be, maybe, but that doesn't matter that you say it, because it's not supported entirely in here. It's not a factor. I mean, some people could draw that, sure, but like her saying that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, because I always got the feeling that Dumbledore and McGonagall were an item. And then she comes out and says that, and it's like, what?
Well, it's like, honestly, I would just say he, as far as I could tell, just hasn't been in relationships. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a non-factor, because it's not even his story.
It's not established.
Yeah. So here's a better example. If Lucas was to say, Luke is actually a female that identifies as a boy, you would be like, well, but he's not, though. I'm just saying. I wouldn't take a creator's
that hurts
word.
My head.
I wouldn't take it to heart, because I'll use an even better example with Dragon Ball, where the creator, Akira Toriyama, has made countless mistakes with a lot of things, like getting a character's hair color wrong. He just forgot. He's like, oh yeah, there's this one. Or like he'll be asked a question in an interview and say something that contradicts stuff that exists that he's done before. Mm-hmm. So it's like, taking their word as canon is kind of, I don't know. I feel like that goes down a rabbit hole of nonsense, personally.
It can, but
I think
the reason I said George Lucas, because a lot of the content that has come out with the Disney Star Wars has conflicted with the history of what's happened in the movies.
Yeah, I assume you mean George Lucas's films, is what you mean.
Yeah, his films.
Yeah. Because I'd agree with that, like the film, like the
movies,
that's what movies and how they are. that's what I would agree with as well.
That is what I mainly consider George Lucas's canon.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the books because I haven't really read that many, so I can't say anything here or there regarding the lore. That's you need to talk to OG Star Wars. You need to talk to Star Wars Theory. You need to talk to airlock policy.
Well,
Steve,
I feel like
that.
I feel like the books just have the whole circle of, is this part canon? Is this also canon? Because there's some dumb things in the books as well, and it's like, yeah, I feel like if you feel like saying that this is a continuation of the movies or something, a story, you can, but you can also say no, it isn't, because that's what non-canon essentially is. Like you can choose to have it be the story or not. Right. And that's fine. Like, honestly, the sequel trilogy is separate enough from the other films to me to just
parallel universe.
To just not count it as, I don't care if they say that is what it is and that is where they go. I'm like, no, I don't think they would have gone this way. They aren't. But of course, if I were to if I were to legitimately have to state it or something, like, they are the movies, they are the continuation. But as far as I'm concerned, no.
Yeah, it's like, I think a lot of people will have to agree or disagree on what is canon and what is not. But we are not here to just debate canon, really.
Right.
Now,
really. With a lot of these, I like to establish the terms. I think that helps clear the path for our conversation as we go forward for a lot of these things.
But so, I said what I said. They're basically making fan fiction with video games.
Well, the Force Unleashed is a great example of fan fiction with it, of this type of thing. Where
that
it's
was glorious fan fiction, though.
I would say it's not canon at all, but you could, if technically, put it in there if you want. But if you also go, that's dumb, that wouldn't happen, then it's fine because it's not canon.
I really wish it was, though. Okay, so there is a quote. It says, "It's something we are interested in. The reason we approached Visions as we wanted to empower specific creators within their process and medium. So much of the stuff you see in Visions, the specificity of anime and medium justifies a lot of storytelling. So I think we could do more non-timeline storytelling. I think that the Visions framework, absolutely, there's a certain joy in celebratory content that is removed from the gravitas of the canon. We'll have to see what the fandom wants."
That type of quote too, saying what the fandom, that's like saying, what does Earth want? And then go to, there's like, how many continents are there? How many countries are there? How many states are there? Fandom is very different. It's not at all the same entity anymore.
Fandom is also very violent because you have like a whole bunch of other people. It's like, okay, if you wanted to separate it into 3 different groups, you have the original trilogy fans, you have the prequel fans, you have the new Star Wars fans. Which side of the fandom are you going to try to get what they want? Are you going to go with these new fans or the people that buy all the stuff?
Well, I mean, there's that. I mean, there's also people that, like all of them, which I feel is rare than anything. But then there's ones that there's some that don't like the majority of these at all. They just like the EU stuff. People that might just like the TV show cartoons and stuff, or the whatever. So it's hard to say. And then just fans. Yeah, that's a fandom or whatever. That's a tough one to crack.
Yeah,
here.
It's like you're not going to make everybody happy.
So to listen to the fandom, I don't know if that should be the goal specifically.
Yeah, because oh boy.
Well,
I would like to see, because I like that we have brought up the books in the EU. What might be interesting for them to do for a game, get a hold of one of the writers from the EU and work on a game, since the EU is not considered quote unquote canon anymore. Have it develop a game based off that book. I think a lot of people would enjoy that. Well, at least the old school fans would. The expanded universe people would be into it.
Well, yeah, I feel like part of the question would be, how many games has Disney made since they bought Lucasfilm?
Oh,
One? Two?
3. I know 3 off the top of my head. Battlefront 1.
I assume counting Battlefront, the copycat lameoid ones, yeah.
And one of the latest ones, which...
The Jedi Order.
Yeah, people really enjoyed that one.
I suppose. I haven't heard many people talk about it.
I've seen a lot of people played it, and they loved it. They absolutely freaked out at the Order 66 segment of the game where he has a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be a great thing to explore some of the stories that may have been forgotten or are still remembered, but aren't part of the current timeline.
I like for them to have the balls to do one that doesn't have anything to do with the Empire.
What, you mean like KOTOR?
I mean, kind of, but, something different than that as well. I mean, honestly, if they made a good Battlefront game, that'd be good. Because, the ones that... See, it's like the Battlefront issue is you're calling it Battlefront, but it doesn't have the functions of the previous games that are also called Battlefront. It's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It should have that and add more, is what those type of games would usually do. So if they had an actual Battlefront type of game, that'd be cool. But if anything, I'd be fine if they made some newer types of ones. There's so many Star Wars games that exist. There's the Lego ones, there's Star Wars Episode 3, there's The Force Unleashed, of course. There's quite a few of them. The Battlefront games, obviously. There's the old X-Wing ones and pod racing ones, KOTOR, as you said. All these different styles, and I feel like there's a lot of room to do stuff, and I don't know. I'm surprised they haven't made more games by now. So I guess doing video game versions of the books would be a good start, I guess. But I feel like there's even more they can do with creativity. But
it's
do that anymore.
If they can, there's a lot of people that love Star Wars, and I feel like they should explore that with creators that love it. Not just the EU. It's what if, well, you know what? They should just get with Star Wars Theory. He's got a ton of what if scenarios. I think that's what I primarily started watching his content for, because I loved his fan fiction stories. It made sense. It's mind blown.
Well, yeah, I feel like, again, if he were to work for Disney, then it'd be more limiting to what he can do.
It would be. Yeah, you're probably right. We did discuss a little bit about this before. It's Ricky here thinks Star Wars should be public domain, so people can just go explore it as they will.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, it'd be cool for fans to be able to make Star Wars a little easier without as many restrictions. And then, come on, guys, think about a Michael Bay, an M. Night Shyamalan, a Steven Spielberg, Tarantino. Think about all these directors making Star Wars films. That'd be fun.
I'm terrified.
That'd be fun. See, I wouldn't care. I don't. At this point, I don't care what's canon or not anymore, because the sequel trilogy exists. It's screw it now. It's just whatever. The ones you like, I guess. The ones you don't, you don't. And might as well. And even the Visions, I saw Visions, and it's they do some cool artsy stuff, but they're really just riffing off of other stories that have been told, other Japanese type of ones. And it's that's fine, I guess, but it doesn't, to me, there's not as much depth to it. It's just a Gone in the Wind kind of a thing, and very ridiculous weapons. And, a lot of people loved the flashy weapons, and it's is that really what you need to improve? Okay. I don't know. It's not very needed. Not very needed, but
I think there were several people that liked it. You had mentioned off stream that Black Angus, had actually liked it, and he never seems to from what I've seen of some of his videos, he doesn't seem to like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I suppose, but he likes a lot more things than you'd think. He and I actually disagree on a lot of things.
Really?
Where he ends up liking it and I end up disliking it. By the time this podcast episode is up, he and I will have already done a live stream talking about it or debating it on the FC. So,
That
so
would be
hope
hilarious.
you guys enjoyed that conversation when that comes up.
Oh my god, yeah. Go rewatch it. I still stand by what I said. I think this is a good opportunity for Lucasfilm if they do it right. That is the issue, because they've done a lot of things wrong. They've done a lot of fans wrong. Even the Raylos, who Geeks and Gamers always says are weird. These Raylo fans are still ticked off at the end, at their ending of their little ship, and I'm still laughing about it. Maybe they'll get a better ending. I don't know. Honestly, I think it's just a good opportunity to give each group of fans, whether they liked all of the movies, all of the content, they're EU fans, they're original trilogy, they're prequel fans, like I said, sequel fans, they're just fans of games, they're fans of movie, of the cartoons, of the Disney Plus shows, especially the ones that are going to be coming out. So I think this might be a good opportunity to pull people back in since they pissed off other people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. I doubt they'll do well with it, but if they end up doing well with it, then congratulations. That's
finally
fine.
You found something.
Yeah, I guess that's something. You know, if they can actually make a Star Wars game that I enjoy themselves, I'll give them props for it, because I don't know. To me, Jedi Fallen Order did not look very interesting. I was very disappointed with the Battlefront games, and a lot of people said that those have improved, but I don't know. I'll have to see what's up with them now. If they added features that were in it before, but should have been there in the first place. You know, maybe that's something. Maybe.
Yeah, if they have the right people in charge.
I mean,
and I'm not talking about Kathleen Kennedy, but somebody, if they're just going to be doing games that are non-canon, as long as they're good stories.
But I feel like even with the movies, they shouldn't make any more quote-unquote canon movies, because it's just, what's the point? Like, I don't see why they would make non-canon stuff just entirely. Just, hey, all the main movies are sealed. Even the sequel trilogy, as annoying as that is, I know, but I feel like it's a good example of, you know, learning from mistakes and having it as canon is like, okay, we know not to do this thing anymore to affect stories. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, you could, by then it's like, okay, we're doing non-canon stuff, and they can do, you know, maybe they'd have Mark Hamill do some interesting things. It doesn't matter if it's a part of the Mandalorian or not. That's when you can, in your head, go, this is canon. Like Mandalorian, to me, I don't care if it's canon or not. I think a lot of the concepts are really stupid, and you know, I don't count it as part of anything.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool as a non-canon that you get to play as a clone trooper. I don't know if there's any games like that right now.
Well, there was Republic Commando. That's another freaking awesome game. You ever play that one?
I don't think I have.
You can play as a clone trooper.
Really?
It's probably really hard to get that game now, unless you can possibly download it from somewhere. As far as a physical copy, that's probably
Xbox. I think they have that listed under Game Pass. So yeah, I'll go check.
As far as a physical copy, it's probably impossible. But yeah, if you can get it,
probably impossible
as a download, then I definitely recommend you play that, because you play as like one of the Delta Squad or something, and you're supposed to be like not the average clone. You're a little higher up clone, but it's still really cool. You fight Geonosians, get blood on your visor, and it, you know, wipes it away. You fight super battle droids head on. It's like, oh shoot, it's really good.
I gotta go play that. But yeah, this kind of thing is what we want to see. We want to explore different stories, and I think, despite what some people say, I think this is a good opportunity for Lucasfilm to maybe redeem themselves a bit. Not in the canon, because, dear Lord in heaven, but non-canon opens the doors for them to explore different stories. Like, what if Luke had gone evil?
Yeah, and without as much risk to, you know, having more discourse. It's like, hey, you guys, if y'all get pissy, that's your own fault, because this ain't even, you know, take it as it is. It's, you know.
Yeah, it's like, have fun with it.
Yeah, and it's like unlike, I guess Marvel's What If, that whole concept is like, oh yeah, it's like what if this happened or this happened, and that'd be one thing, but they're also kind of treating it like no, these are kind of canon as well and are probably going to play a part in stories coming forward, and it's like, oh well, okay.
Then it's not as much fun if it's canon. Because with non-canon, you can just like come up with different scenarios about, well, this could have happened, but it didn't. And it won't, because, dear Lord, they better not bring in multiverse to this, because I don't need more of it. I'm happy that Marvel has it, because it's already established in oh my gosh, since Marvel's been around, that they had a multiverse.
I don't know.
Star Wars hasn't.
To me, even then, like a lot of people reference comics as like, oh, it was in the comics, or it's been done in the comics, and it's like, I don't know if that means it's good.
You don't know if that means it's a good idea.
that's my thing. It's like, I mean, yeah, multiverse can be okay, but I'm sure there's a lot of people annoyed with the multiverse aspect as well, even in the comics, that it gets confusing or it's weird, and like, oh, you can just read this one or that one, and other ones might seem more, not as impactful because there's like 14 versions of something.
This is a conversation we definitely need to bring Trinity in on.
Yes.
Eventually we'll try to get him on here and we can discuss the multiverse of craziness. And I'm not calling it madness, because that is actually a movie.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, it's like, I would absolutely love to get his input, because he does a lot of live streams and videos discussing comics, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so it'd be really interesting to get his input on it. It's like, because he knows it all, and I would love to know if he thinks multiverses are good or are they bad. And if it depends.
Well, I mean, okay, when I say that, I mean, they can be good, but I imagine when they were first implemented in Marvel, they probably weren't good. But a lot of people,
I think they were smaller.
A lot of people probably go, well, it was in the comics, so it was good. It's like, I don't know.
Comics doesn't always mean good, because they can have some really bad storylines. Just look at the DC universe.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to end it here before people lynch mob me.
Okie dokie.
So
they're going to hate raid. They're going to hate raid you.
Yes, they're going to hate raid. That's yesterday's episode, by the way. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, we will catch y'all on the flip side.